In preparation for installing the water pump and getting it ready for summer, first you have to close all the valves that had been opened in the winter. So Doug is closing and showing you all the valves that need to be shut. There's a thermometer. You want it in the fridge or the freezer?
Hey, this is how to get the water going at the beginning of the season. So first of all, we've shut all the taps, and that's shown somewhere else. We got the water pump, which we obviously need, and the other tools you need: a pair of pliers, water, we're going to fill that, and something called Quick Start.
Just a minute.
We'll explain that in a minute.
You want to zoom in on that? Okay.
So the first thing we do before we get down there is we're going to have to put the plug back into the pump, which was taken out in the fall, and this one is going to go in at the bottom down here. And you have to be a little careful you get the threads right, otherwise it jams and you won't get it all the way on. Finger tight is probably good enough. And we take the one off the top. Sometimes we need pliers, but we're gonna need that, but we'll take it off for now. So that's good. And then last but not least, we should check just to make sure there's still oil in there from last year, which should have been changed at the end of the season. And it's usually not this stiff. And there's oil in there, which is good.
So can you just see it, Doug?
It's spilled out.
Okay.
And there's a dipstick on this thing, and you should be able to see it on the dipstick. Last but not least, we just make sure we have some gas. It'll never start without gas, and we have some, so we're good to go. We're down here, we got the pump kind of in place, we got our tools with us. And so the next thing is to put the foot valve in the water. So this is the foot valve, and this is the anchor that goes with it. And in a minute, we're gonna throw that all out there. And the anchor, an old piece of railroad tie, goes to the bottom, and this goes out there, and we want this pointing straight down. But before we do that, we got to make sure the foot valve isn't stuck. And if we can make it go up and down and we can hear it move, we know it's not stuck, which I can't hear. So I'm going to have to take it apart and look inside. So we'll hang on a second. So I couldn't hear it move back and forth, so it might be stuck. So I'm going to take this thing off the bottom. I had to go get another tool. So the foot valve is this little springy thing in here. And actually it does move, which is all that really matters. So it's good. Maybe my hearing aids weren't working properly, but it was moving all the time. So we just put this back on, and we're good to put it back in the water. In fact, without the foot valve, it would actually still work, but the tank drains after you fill it every time. It's very annoying. Okay, you ready? So, next thing is we want to put this in the water. And so usually I like to try and see if I can get the anchor past the ledge. And so I end up throwing it out there. And if I get it, great. If I don't, I'll come back with a canoe later and move it. very good, but it's going to work. So now we got that in here. Before we get the pump to work, we got to fill this with water, and we got to fill the pump with water because we don't want to run it while it's dry. So the next thing we do is we go to our water container, and we're going to fill it all up with water. This is where having a grandkid really helps, especially if it's cold out, because they'll do this. So we fill the pipe with water, and we also fill the pump with water.
Which hole, Doug? That top one right there?
That's the top hole. Okay, that's full. Stop. Now we're going to hook up the intake line to the pump. That goes onto this one right here. So we take these two pins out. Don't lose them. They're important. Swing these things out this way. We'll just top this up with water one more time. There we go. And that should just slip right on. And these two things come down like that. Sometimes you got to work it back and forth a bit, but they got to be flat, and then these pins go back on here. There we go. They're back on. Okay, now we'll just top the water up one more time. Our last thing to do before trying the Miracle Pump is to put the cap back on. And now, if I'm feeling lucky, I'll turn that to on. I've got the gas on. I've got the choke on. We'll try it. Okay, so now we got the gas on, we got the choke on, we got the on-off switch on. We start her up. And it takes a while on the choke to get warmed up. And it takes a second or two, but as soon as the water comes rushing out, we know that it's working. Let it go for 30 seconds or less. Make sure we get all the air out of the system. The pump is working, and then we turn it off. So now we know the pump is working. You notice that I didn't use the quick start. And the quick start, if the pump had been hard to start, I would have sprayed some of this in the air filter, and it always starts with that. But we didn't need it because this is a Miracle Pump, so we'll put that aside. And now we put the hose that goes to the cottage on, and it goes on the same way. Got these two little pins. Take those off. And sometimes we got to turn the pump a little bit to get it there. Open those up. Put it on. Squeeze those things in. Pins on. And we're ready to go. So we start it up again. And we're pumping water. Now So this is an example of a leak, and this one is just before the shower valve. So we're going to have to do something because that'll basically empty the entire tank fairly quickly. So it's close to the valve, so I'll probably just cut it off and shorten the pipe by about a foot or two. So this is the valve to the shower. I can see the leak is right here. I've turned the pump off for now. I'm going to get wet here, but I'm going to cut it on this side of the leak so I can figure out where that is. Just want to make sure I don't cut myself here. I know I'm going to get a little wet here, but that's okay. That part off. Now I got to get this part off. That should go in. If it won't go in, if it's too stiff, you can put some hot water on the black pipe and it goes in easier. Put that on there. Tighten the hose clamp back up again. And we are back in business. And that's garbage.